The NBA season is finally here, and while we're just a couple games into the season, I actually think it's an interesting time to look ahead at some possible trades we could see. If you guys like the content, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and let's get into this. Let's start with possibly the most obvious team to make some moves based on what we saw in the first game of this season. Now, this isn't because of how bad this team looked. It's actually quite the opposite. We're talking about the Utah Jazz. The Jazz took down the Nuggets in pretty dominating fashion. Now, I don't think this is going to be a common occurrence by any means, but this team might just be a little too good considering the scenario ahead. After trading away Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and Bojan Bogdanovic, there's no question this team's in a full-on rebuild with their eyes set on one of the most anticipated prospects in league history, Victor Wembanyama. It's going to be a race to the bottom, and as of right now, this roster just might be a little too good for comfort. Now, there's still going to be a bottom team in the West, there's no question about that, but with teams like the Rockets, Thunder, Spurs looking to put together a tanking masterclass, the Jazz need to make some moves sooner rather than later. They don't have a star player, but some pretty ridiculous depth. They've got super solid vets like Rudy Gay, Mike Conley, Kelly Olynyk, Jared Vanderbilt, and Jordan Clarkson in their starting lineup. Coming off the bench, they've got Colin Sexton, who when we last saw him was a 20+ a game scorer, and this season dropped 20 points in the opener in just 21 minutes. They've got Malik Beasley, rookie Walker Kessler, and Talen Horton-Tucker. Clearly nothing crazy, but if they're going to be closer to 20 wins than 30, they're going to need some roles from the Pokus and Romeo Langfords of the world like their fellow tankers. The player that really jumps out to me as someone that they can move pretty soon is Mike Conley. The 35-year-old is on contract for this season and next, getting around $23 million a season. They're not going to get something super notable in return, but that's fine. In my opinion, there's two teams that really jump out as potential suitors, that being the Pelicans and Mavericks. Both these teams have a need at the point guard position and have the contracts to make it happen. For the Pelicans, it's pretty simple. The contracts of Devontae Graham and Garrett Temple, an unproven young piece like Hero Lewis, and minor draft compensation. The Pelicans look legit. I'm sure we're going to be talking about that soon. Adding Conley would give them a starting group of Conley, McCollum, Herb Jones, Zion, and Valanciunas. Easily one of the better two-way units in the league. This seems like the perfect risk to reward decision. Then there's the Mavericks. They've also got one of those big contracts that they're more than happy to involve, that being Davis Bertans. They've got a great tank piece in Josh Green, and obviously they could add some level of draft compensation. It's safe to say the Mavericks are going to be making a trade similar to this by the end of the year. To start the season, they're running an extremely short rotation. It looks like Christian Wood will be in for a great season. Hardaway Jr. is back. Getting Conley would give them a much-needed perimeter defender and add great guard depth, allowing Dinwiddie to return to a six-man role. Obviously, other teams could enter the mix, but I really think sooner rather than later, Conley is going to one of these teams. Then you've got Jordan Clarkson, a player that it's hard to say where his value is. He's got a $14 million player option next season, which I'll probably accept, and he's coming off a pretty disappointing year where he shot just 42% from the field and 32% from three, but he is just a year removed from a 6th Man of the Year season. The price tag should be pretty reasonable, which will probably create a lot of interest from the contenders of the league looking to add some depth. We've already seen rumored interest from teams like the Lakers and Suns expect a team in a similar situation to make a move. These were the obvious two for the Jazz, but by no means the only two. I think Malik Beasley, Kelly Olynyk, and Rudy Gay are all options to be on a different team by the end of the year. I mean, there's just no way this is the group we're going to see all season. They are in a full-on rebuild, should be in a tank, and they played the 14th overall pick in the draft 1 minute in the season opener. Insane. Another one of the obvious teams to make some moves is the Indiana Pacers with their duo of Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. We saw the rumors with teams like the Lakers, and honestly, I was shocked to see that the two both made it through the offseason. Miles Turner's on the final year of his deal with a solid chance he leaves after this season given their current situation. Buddy Hield has another year left on his contract, and he's currently 29 years old. He's not a part of the future of the Pacers, and I think based on the first game of the season, freeing up more of a role for their top pick Benedict Mathurin makes a lot of sense. Turner is currently dealing with an injury he suffered just before the start of the season, but he should be fine. It's pretty simple. The Pacers need to be losing games and actually can get a pretty solid return if something is done sooner rather than later. The Lakers are still the favorite in my opinion, given the contract of Westbrook combined with draft compensation lines up pretty well to bring in both, but I think there'll be several teams in the mix. A team that no one's really expecting to join the tank off that I think actually might is the Charlotte Hornets. It makes a lot of sense when you look at the situation. LaMelo Ball is currently dealing with injury. It's not expected to be a significant absence, but it still factors in. Outside of LaMelo, there's not much promising on this roster. They are by no means a free agency threat, and they've got some solid veterans they can move, like Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward. Now this isn't nearly as likely as the other two teams, but definitely still worth mentioning. Gordon Hayward opened the year with 20 points. When he's out there, I still think he can bring a lot, but at 32 years old, dealing with constant injuries over the last few seasons, and another year on his contract that's going to pay him over $30 million, I think the Hornets would just be hoping for a net neutral deal that gets him off that money. Then there's Terry Rozier, who's 20 years old, coming off a great season where he averaged 19 points a game on solid efficiency. I still think there's a chance he's moved, but it's not going to be easy given the long-term commitment that comes with his contract, as he's going to get $26 million in 2026. Then there's other guys like Mason Plumlee and Kelly Oubre. The NBA middle ground can be a deadly place in the league, and that's where the Hornets are right now. After the situation with Miles Bridges that made the Hornets' future much more questionable, I think they need to tear down this roster if they actually want to make something of the LaMelo Ball era. Those were the bottom tier teams sitting on solid beds. Now let's take a look at some of the stars in the league that I think could possibly be on the move. I think the first one we've got to talk about is Damian Lillard. The Blazers aren't in a great position. After trading for Jeremy Grant this offseason, they've got a solid group with Dame, Simons, Nurkic, and Hart. They've got promising young guys like Nazir Little and Shaedon Sharpe. But what is the path to becoming a contender? Right now, this is a middle ground team if I've ever seen one. They most likely won't make the playoffs, but they're also not going to have great lottery odds whatsoever. Sure, there's hope that Simons continues to become even better, or Sharpe proves to be that #1 ranked high school recruit, but time is ticking. By the time this happens, who knows what you're getting from Lillard? He's 32 years old. In the 29 games he played last season, he shot 40% from the field and 32% from 3. This year, he opened the season shooting 5 for 18 from the field. Now, I'm not saying Dame is washed by any means, but it is getting a little concerning. He's now been with the Blazers for over 10 years, 10 full years of mediocrity. I think it's time for them to go into their next era, but it's hard to say if that will actually happen, especially with Lillard's contract that has a $63 million player option in 2027. I think the most likely thing to cause a Lillard trade would actually be him initiating it. It's come up before, so out of the stars of the league, I do think he's one of the more likely to be switching teams. One that pains me to say is Oklahoma City Thunder star guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, to me, this would make no sense. The Thunder have him locked up while still being just bad enough to most likely have a top pick in the upcoming draft, a player that's going to make his debut a year from now, alongside their most recent top pick, Chet Holmgren. Between Josh Giddey, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Ousmane Dieng, Trey Mann, JRE, Aaron Wiggins, there is a super solid group in the making, and you would think Shai would recognize that. Like I was saying with Dame, the only major thread is SGA requesting a trade, but given his injury history over the last couple years, it would be odd to see in my opinion. Now on the other hand, I can't ignore all of these rumors and Presti's willingness to wheel and deal, which is why I have to include him in this video. I do think there are some interesting scenarios with teams like the Knicks and Raptors, which we've seen rumored, but it's going to take quite a lot to get him. Then there's Bradley Beal. It would really suck to see both him and Lillard never be part of a true contender. The Wizards suck. They've got no shot at making the playoffs. They're in a rebuild with a 29-year-old star that has a $57 million player option in 2027. Their last 4 first-round picks, while some look solid, none have shown too much to get excited about. The team is headed in a very bad direction, and I think their best chance is trading away Beal, especially just given the sheer size of this contract that could become one of the worst sooner rather than later. I'm not sure what the trade market is for Beal right now, but I would love to see him in a competitive scenario. But that's the video, guys. There's definitely some other teams I'm keeping my eye on, such as the Nets and Bulls, that could have major trade implications, but these were the moves I wanted to focus on for now. As always, though, I'll keep you guys updated as the season progresses. If you guys like the content, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.